Welcome to our channel, Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive. On a cold November night in the quiet town of Ashford, 28-year-old Clara Whitman left work at the library and began her short drive home. It should have taken less than 10 minutes, but she never arrived. The next morning, her car was found neatly parked on the side of County Road 6. Inside were her purse, her phone, and her keys. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints, no answers. Search teams scoured the woods. Dogs followed her scent, and then it stopped suddenly, as if Clara had vanished into thin air. This is the story of a disappearance no one could explain. The town of Ashford was small and quiet. People knew one another, and life moved slowly there. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved from their porches and nothing much ever changed. But in November of 2012, something happened that no one could explain, something that would haunt the people of the town for years. Clara Whitman lived in Ashford all her life. She was 28 years old with brown hair and calm eyes. People in town knew her as kind and dependable. She worked at the local library and often stayed late to help close. She was not married, but she lived close to her parents and often visited them. Clara was not the kind of person who made enemies. On the evening of November 14th, Clara finished her shift at the library. It was a cold night, the kind of night when the air felt sharp against the skin. The streets were quiet, and a thin layer of frost had begun to form on the sidewalks. At 8:05 p.m., she locked the library doors and walked to her car. She always parked in the same spot, just under the streetlight. She got in her silver sedan and started the drive home. It was a short drive, less than 10 minutes along County Road 6, but Clara never made it home. The next morning, her car was found on the side of that same road. It was parked neatly as if she had pulled over on purpose. The doors were locked. Her purse was inside, along with her phone and her keys. Nothing looked broken. Nothing looked wrong. It was as if she had stopped the car, stepped out, and disappeared into the night. Her parents were the first to notice something was wrong. Clara always called her mother before bed, a simple habit she never skipped. When she didn't call that night, her mother grew worried. By morning, when Clara still had not come home, her parents went to the police. Within hours, officers were searching the road. When they found the car, the mystery deepened. Volunteers from the town joined the search. They walked through the woods and fields calling Clara's name. Bloodhounds were brought in. For a moment, it seemed they had found something. The dogs caught Clara's scent from the car and followed it into the woods. But then, just 30 yards in, the trail ended. The dogs stopped, confused, circling the same patch of ground. The scent was gone, as if Clara had vanished into thin air. The police began to ask questions. They checked the library cameras. The footage showed Clara leaving at her usual time, carrying her purse and wearing her coat. She walked calmly to her car. Nothing looked strange. There was no one following her, no one waiting nearby. A clerk at a small store along the road said he had seen Clara's car pass by around 8:15 p.m. That matched the time she should have been driving home. But no one saw what happened after. Police checked her phone records. There were no calls, no texts, no signs of anything unusual. They checked her bank account. Nothing had been touched. She had made no plans to leave, no signs that she wanted to run away. Then there was the camera footage from a gas station near where the car was found. At 8:11 p.m., Clara's car was seen driving slowly down the road. A few minutes later, another car appeared on the same camera, driving in the same direction. It was a dark sedan, older, maybe from the late 90s. No one knew whose car it was. That car was never found. The people of Ashford were shocked. They had never seen anything like this. The town was safe, quiet, uneventful. Things like this only happened in movies or faraway places. But now it was happening here to one of their own. Some believed she had been taken. Others whispered that maybe she had chosen to leave her life behind. But her family did not believe that. Clara loved her family. She loved her job. She had no debts, no secrets that anyone knew of. There was nothing she needed to escape from. In the days that followed, the search grew larger. News crews came to Ashford. Reporters walked the quiet streets asking questions. Police cars lined County Road 6, their lights flashing red and blue in the dark. Helicopters flew over the woods, scanning the ground with thermal cameras. But there was nothing. No footprints. No broken branches. No torn clothing. It was as if the night had swallowed Clara whole. Her parents kept hoping for answers. They stayed up at night by the phone, waiting for news. Her father walked the woods by himself, even after the search had been called off, carrying a flashlight and calling her name. But he found nothing. The whole town felt uneasy. People locked their doors earlier than before. Parents told their children not to walk alone. Every car that passed on County Road 6 was watched with suspicion. The mystery was like a shadow that hung over Ashford. And still the question remained. How could someone simply vanish from a car parked on the side of the road in a town where nothing ever happened? The truth was out there, but no one could see it yet. The days after Clara's disappearance were heavy and cold. The air in Ashford felt different, like something dark had settled over the small town. People spoke softly in grocery stores and coffee shops. Every conversation seemed to return to the same question. Where is Clara Whitman? The police worked day and night. They set up roadblocks on County Road 6 and stopped every car that passed. Officers asked drivers if they had seen Clara or the mysterious dark sedan from the gas station footage. Most drivers shook their heads. A few thought they might have seen a car like that, but no one could give details strong enough to help. Detectives went door to door near the area where Clara's car was found. They asked about strange noises, unfamiliar cars, or strangers seen walking along the road. Some neighbors said they had heard nothing. One old man claimed he heard a low humming sound that night, like a machine or an engine running. But when he looked outside, the road was empty. Another neighbor said she saw lights in the woods, but she admitted it might have been hunters. The trail was thin, and the police knew it. Without new clues, the case grew colder with each passing day. Clara's parents refused to give up. Her mother sat by the phone every night staring at the window, waiting for headlights that never came. Her father joined search parties even after the police had pulled back. He walked miles through the woods, carrying a thermos of coffee and a flashlight, calling his daughter's name into the trees. Every echo made his heart sink deeper. The media made the case bigger. News vans parked outside the police station. Reporters stood in front of cameras with serious faces, calling it the Ashford mystery. They repeated the same strange details: the locked car, the untouched purse, the scent that ended in the woods. The story spread to other states, then other countries. People online wrote theories in forums. Some believed Clara had been kidnapped. Some thought she had staged her disappearance. Others whispered about darker, stranger things. The police leaned toward abduction. The unknown sedan seemed like the strongest lead. But weeks passed, and they found nothing more. No registration records matched the car. No witnesses could say where it went. It was as if the sedan had appeared for one night only and then vanished, just like Clara. As the weeks turned into months, life in Ashford struggled to return to normal. The library reopened, but Clara's desk remained empty. Her co-workers kept her things untouched, as if she might walk through the door any day and sit down again. Her parents kept her bedroom neat, folding her sheets and dusting her shelves, waiting for the day she would come home. But the silence grew heavier. Detectives tried new paths. They looked into Clara's past, searching for secrets. They spoke to old friends, old teachers, old co-workers. They asked about boyfriends, enemies, problems. But everyone said the same thing. Clara was kind, quiet, and reliable. She had no enemies, no scandals, nothing to run from. One detective, Officer Howard, became obsessed with the case. He carried Clara's photo in his pocket. He drove the stretch of County Road 6 every night, pulling over by the spot where her car was found. He would sit there for hours, staring into the woods, waiting for something, anything to appear. Sometimes, in the stillness, he thought he heard footsteps or whispers. But when he stepped out of his car, there was nothing, only silence. By spring, the official search had ended, but rumors had grown. Some townsfolk said Clara had been taken by someone she trusted, someone she willingly stopped for. Others believed she had walked into the woods on her own. A few whispered that the land itself had swallowed her, that Ashford's woods held secrets older than the town itself. One night, months later, a farmer named Daniel Carter came forward with a story. He said that on the night Clara vanished, He was driving his truck down an old back road not far from County Road 6. He saw two cars parked by the edge of the trees, a silver sedan and a dark older car. He thought it was nothing at the time, just two drivers who had pulled over. But when he saw the news days later, he wondered if one of those cars had been Clara's. Police searched the area Daniel mentioned, but they found nothing. The leaves had fallen, the snow had melted, and months had passed. If anything had happened there, the evidence was gone. Still, the story spread quickly. People now believed there had been two cars, two lives crossing paths in the dark, one of which was never seen again. Clara's parents clung to hope. They set up a small memorial on County Road 6, placing flowers and a framed photo by the spot where her car was found. Every week, strangers came to leave candles or letters. Some prayed. Some cried. Some just stood silently, staring into the woods as though waiting for an answer. But answers never came. The police kept the case open. Every year, they released new appeals for information. Every year, the same silence returned. Officer Howard, now older and weary, admitted to himself one night that he might never know what had happened. But he could never stop wondering. For Ashford, the disappearance became a story that parents told their children as a warning. They told them not to walk alone at night, not to stop for strangers, not to trust the quiet of the woods. The name Clara Whitman became both a memory and a mystery. And still, the most troubling question remained. How does someone disappear without a sound, without a struggle, leaving behind nothing but a car on the side of a lonely road? No one in Ashford had the answer. But everyone in Ashford still carried the fear. Winter had passed, and spring had arrived in Ashford, but the town still felt cold. It was not the weather that chilled people anymore, it was the memory of what had happened on County Road 6. Clara's face was still seen everywhere. Posters with her picture were pinned to grocery store boards and taped to lampposts. Missing, they said in bold letters, followed by her age, height, and the night she vanished. Some posters had faded from the sun, but her parents replaced them again and again. They would not let people forget. The police still got calls now and then. Some people claimed they saw her in other towns. Others said they saw a car like the dark sedan. But each time when officers checked, it led to nothing. The tips were like smoke, there for a moment, then gone. One warm afternoon in June, a hiker reported something strange. He said he found a scarf in the woods not far from where Clara's scent had ended. The scarf was blue, and he thought he remembered seeing Clara wear one like it in an old photo. Excited, police rushed to the scene. They searched the area carefully, marking every inch. But when they sent the scarf to the lab, it showed no signs that it belonged to Clara. No hair, no DNA, nothing. It was just an ordinary scarf left behind by someone else. The disappointment was heavy. Each false lead only deepened the pain. Clara's family tried to live, but everything reminded them of her. Her mother avoided walking past the library because it hurt too much to see the empty window where Clara used to sit. Her father stayed busy fixing things around the house, though most of them didn't need fixing. It was his way of keeping his hands busy because when his hands were still, his mind returned to that night. The case began to take on a life of its own outside Ashford. True crime shows covered the story. Podcasts debated theories. Some people became obsessed, digging through every detail online. Strangers sent letters to the family, claiming to have visions, dreams, or secret knowledge about Clara's fate. Some of the letters were kind. Others were cruel, blaming the family for not protecting her. Clara's mother read them all, searching for one line that might hold a truth. But it was only more noise. Detective Howard still drove down County Road 6 almost every night. He told himself he was checking the area, but deep inside, he knew it was more than that. He could not let go. Sometimes, he parked in the exact place where Clara's car had been found. He would turn off his headlights and sit in the dark watching the tree line. He wanted to see what she might have seen. He wanted to feel what she might have felt. One night, as he sat in silence, he noticed something odd. There was a faint glimmer of light deep in the woods. It was small, like a lantern or a phone screen, and it flickered for only a few seconds before vanishing. He jumped from his car and walked toward it, his flashlight cutting through the branches. But by the time he reached the place, there was nothing. just the sound of crickets and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Howard did not report it. He knew the other officers would think he was imagining things, but the light stayed in his mind, haunting him. Meanwhile, people in town had begun to make up their own stories. Some believed Clara had been taken by someone she knew, someone she trusted enough to stop for. Others said the dark sedan belonged to a stranger passing through, a person who chose Ashford by chance. And then there were the strange theories. Some whispered that Clara had been taken by something not human, that the woods hid more than animals. They spoke of strange noises, of shadows that moved on their own, of voices calling late at night. Clara's parents hated those stories. They wanted facts, not rumors. They wanted their daughter back, not ghost tales. But they could not control what people believed. By the first anniversary of her disappearance, Ashford held a candlelight vigil. Hundreds gathered on County Road 6, holding candles that glowed like stars in the dark. They prayed, they cried, and they promised not to forget her. Her mother spoke softly into a microphone, her voice shaking. "We will keep waiting," she said. "Clara, if you are out there, we love you. We will never stop looking for you." The crowd repeated her words. Some wept openly. Even the police stood in silence, their heads bowed, but after the candles were blown out, the darkness returned. And with it came the same questions that no one could answer. Months later, in the dead of summer, a new clue appeared. A hunter, walking the far edge of the woods, found something buried under leaves. A shoe. It was small, women's size, black leather. He thought it might belong to Clara. The police took it seriously. They sent it to the lab. When the results came back, it confirmed their fears. The shoe was Clara's. It was the first real piece of evidence they had in months. But the discovery raised more questions. The shoe was found miles from where her car had been left. How had it gotten there? Had she been alive long enough to walk that far? Or had someone carried it there? And why only one shoe? The woods were searched again, harder than before. Officers marked grids and combed through every bush, every fallen branch. But again, they found nothing else. No clothing, no bones, no trace of Clara, just the single shoe resting alone in the dirt. The discovery broke her parents even further. Her mother clutched the shoe to her chest and sobbed, as though holding her daughter's hand. Her father sat silently beside her, his face pale and empty. They had wanted answers, but the answers only deepened the mystery. Detective Howard studied the shoe late at night in his office. He ran his fingers along the worn sole, wondering where it had walked last. He imagined Clara standing on the side of the road, headlights behind her, fear in her chest. He imagined her running, the shoe slipping off, her breath caught in the cold night air. But beyond that moment, his imagination failed. He could not see where she went. He could not see what had happened next. The case had grown darker, stranger, and still no closer to the truth. Clara had vanished, and the town of Ashford was left with fragments, an empty car, a fading scent, and now a single shoe. It was not enough. It would never be enough. And yet, deep inside, Detective Howard felt something he could not explain. The case was not over. Something waited in the woods, silent and hidden, holding the answer. He only had to keep looking. Summer turned into fall again, and a whole year had passed since Clara's disappearance. For most towns, time heals wounds, but in Ashford, the wound only stayed open. The people tried to move forward, but the shadow of that night was always there. Every trip down County Road 6 reminded them. Every glance into the woods made them uneasy. Detective Howard grew more restless. He had been on the force for over 20 years, but no case had ever held him like this. He could not stop thinking about Clara's last moments. The shoe had only made things worse. It was proof that she had been in the woods, but it told nothing about where she went next. Howard started working late at night long after his shift was done. He printed out maps of the woods, marking every area that had been searched. He traced the possible routes Clara might have taken if she had walked or been carried. The maps filled his desk, overlapping like a giant puzzle that refused to fit together. His wife worried about him. "You're not sleeping," she said. "You can't solve everything." But Howard only shook his head. "She's out there," he said. "Somewhere. We just haven't found her yet." One evening, Howard drove back to the spot where the shoe had been found. The woods were thick there, with tall pines and fallen logs. He parked his car, stepped out, and walked slowly under the fading light. The forest was quiet except for the crunch of leaves beneath his boots. As he moved deeper, he thought about the farmer's story from months earlier, the two cars seen by the road. Could Clara have been forced into the second car? Or had she tried to escape into the woods and lost her shoe while running? He stopped for a moment and listened. The silence pressed against his ears. Then faintly he thought he heard something. A soft rustle, like someone moving through the trees. He shone his flashlight, but nothing was there. Only shadows and branches swaying in the wind. Still, his heart raced. When he returned to his car, he sat for a long time, staring into the darkness. He told himself it was just an animal he heard, but something about it felt different. Something about it felt watched. Meanwhile, Clara's parents kept holding on to hope. Her mother joined online groups of families with missing loved ones. They shared stories, advice, and grief. She spent hours each night reading about other cases, wondering if the answer to Clara's disappearance might lie in someone else's story. Her father, quieter in his pain, started leaving a light on outside the house every night. It became a ritual. So she can find her way home, he told his wife, but the town was changing. Some people began to grow tired of the mystery. They whispered that Clara must be dead, that there was no use clinging to hope. Others insisted the case was cursed, that nothing good would come from digging deeper. Still, not everyone let it go. A group of college students from a nearby city became fascinated with the mystery. They came to Ashford to investigate on their own, filming videos for the internet. They walked the woods at night, daring each other to go farther than the police had searched. They posted theories online, some wild, some cruel. Clara's parents begged them to stop, but they didn't listen. To them, it was entertainment. To her family, it was a knife in the wound. One of the students claimed he saw something strange, a shadowy figure standing among the trees, too still to be an animal. He posted about it online, saying it was proof Clara's case was more than human. The posts spread quickly, fueling the supernatural rumors. People talked about ghosts, about creatures in the woods, about lights in the sky. Detective Howard hated those stories. He wanted facts, not myths. But he could not ignore the feeling that the case was slipping out of his control. Then, in late October, a new piece of evidence surfaced. A hunter, walking in a remote part of the forest, found something unusual, a torn piece of fabric caught on a branch. It was pale, almost white, and looked like part of a blouse. The hunter turned it in, and the police sent it to the lab. When the results came back, it matched the fibers from Clara's clothing. It was proof. Clara had gone farther into the woods than they thought. The police reopened the search, this time with drones and special tracking equipment. Officers combed through the forest again, following the path where the fabric had been found. They looked for bones, clothing, anything that could tell them what had happened, but again they found nothing more. No body, no camp, no trace of Clara. The frustration was unbearable. Every clue led to nothing. Every lead turned cold. It was as if the woods were swallowing the truth, hiding it deeper each time. Howard sat alone in his office one night, staring at the fabric. He thought about the shoe, the locked car, the scent that had ended so suddenly. He thought about the farmer's story, the light he had seen in the woods, the whispers that wouldn't stop, and for the first time, he wondered if the truth was something he could never explain, but he also knew he could not stop. He owed it to Clara. He owed it to her family. As Halloween came, children dressed in costumes walked the streets of Ashford, laughing and playing. But even among the laughter, parents kept their eyes sharp. No one wanted their child too far from home. No one forgot what had happened to Clara. On County Road 6, the memorial still stood. Flowers, candles, and letters surrounded her photo. On the night of October 31st, someone left a note there. It had no name, no signature. Just a few words written in shaky handwriting. I saw what happened. She wasn't alone. The police could not trace the note. They didn't know who had left it or if it was a cruel joke. But it was enough to stir the case again. Enough to make Howard believe the story wasn't over yet. And deep in the woods of Ashford, The wind whispered through the trees, carrying secrets no one was ready to hear. The note left at the roadside memorial shook everyone in Ashford. The words were few, but they carried heavy weight. I saw what happened. She wasn't alone. The police treated it carefully. They sent the paper to the lab to check for fingerprints, but none were found. The ink was cheap, the kind used in drugstore pens. The handwriting was shaky, almost like someone trying not to be recognized. No one came forward to admit they wrote it. Detective Howard read the words again and again. He wondered who could have left them. Was it a witness who had been silent all this time? Was it a prank from someone cruel? Or was it the person who had taken Clara? The town buzzed with talk. Some believed the note was real, that someone had finally found the courage to speak. Others said it was just a trick to hurt the family even more. Clara's parents clung to hope. If someone saw what happened, maybe answers were finally close. Police set up a hotline, begging the writer to call. But no call ever came. The silence was louder than before. Howard did not give up. He started going back through every piece of the case. He rewatched the gas station footage, pausing again and again on the frame where the dark sedan followed Clara's car. He studied the farmer's story of 2 cars near the woods. He stared at the shoe, the torn fabric, the note. All of it pointed to one truth. Clara had not vanished on her own. Someone had been there with her, but who? Weeks passed and winter returned. Snow fell heavy on Ashford, covering the woods in a white blanket. The search had to stop again. The ground was too hard, the air too cold. For Clara's family, the holidays were painful. They left her stocking hanging untouched, a quiet reminder of the space she once filled. One night in January, Howard was driving home when he decided to take County Road 6 instead of the main highway. He slowed as he passed the place where her car had been found. The snow was thick, but something caught his eye, a set of footprints leading from the road into the woods. He pulled over, heart racing. The prints were fresh, maybe hours old. Too large to be Clara's, too uneven to be from a hunter. Someone had walked here recently, in the dead of night. Howard followed them with his flashlight. The prints wound between trees, deeper and deeper. They stopped suddenly at a clearing. In the snow he saw something strange, a circle of disturbed ground, as if someone had stood there for a long time, pacing. And then nothing. The prints ended, cut off clean, as if the person had vanished. He stood there, breath fogging the air, listening to the silence. For a moment he thought he heard movement behind him, but when he turned, the woods were empty. Shaken, he returned to his car. He reported the prints, and officers searched the area the next morning. But the snow had fallen again overnight. The tracks were gone. Howard began to believe that someone was playing with them, someone who knew the woods well, someone who could move unseen. In February, a break finally came. A man was arrested in a nearby county for attempted abduction. He drove a car that was eerily similar to the dark sedan caught on the gas station camera. Police questioned him for hours about Clara. He denied everything. His car was searched, his home combed over, but nothing tied him to her disappearance. Without proof, they could not hold him. He was released. The hope that had flared up quickly died. Clara's parents cried in silence. The town sank back into its uneasy routine. Years passed. Ashford grew older. Children became adults. New families moved in. But the story of Clara Whitman never faded. It became part of the town's identity, a mystery spoken in whispers, a warning told at bedtime. People still drove faster down County Road 6, unwilling to slow near the place where she was last seen. Detective Howard eventually retired, but the case never left him. He kept the files in his home, stacked in neat boxes. Sometimes late at night he would open them and look at Clara's photo. Her calm eyes stared back at him, asking the same question. Why? Her parents aged too. They still left the porch light on every night. They still placed flowers at the memorial. Even when their bodies grew weak, their hope never fully died. Some believed Clara was buried deep in the woods. Others thought she had been taken far away. A few clung to stranger ideas, that she had stepped into something unexplainable, that the reason the trail ended was because she had gone somewhere no one else could follow. The truth never came. 10 years after her disappearance, Ashford held another vigil. The crowd was smaller this time, but the candles still glowed. People prayed, people cried, and Clara's name was spoken once more. Her parents, now older and frail, stood together and whispered into the night, "We love you. We will never stop waiting." Detective Howard was there too, standing in the shadows, watching the flames flicker. He thought of the note, of the shoe, of the light he once saw in the woods. He wondered if the answers were still out there, hidden just beyond reach. The case of Clara Whitman became one of those mysteries that never fade. Unsolved, unanswered, and unforgettable. And though time passed, though new seasons came and went, the question still lingered in every corner of Ashford, whispered in every quiet moment. How does someone vanish into the night, leaving behind nothing but silence? No one knew, and perhaps no one ever would. Years have passed, but the disappearance of Clara Whitman still haunts the town of Ashford. Her car remains the only clear piece of evidence, her shoe and a torn fabric the only silent clues. No body was found, no suspect was charged, and no answers ever came. Her parents still leave a light on every night, hoping one day she might return. The people of Ashford still whisper her name when they drive down County Road 6, and so the mystery lives on. A young woman who stepped out of her life one ordinary night and was never seen again. A disappearance no one could explain. Subscribe to Crime Loom, and join us as we unravel more heists, mysteries, and untold legends.